Welcome to Traveling Adventures, your quest for love. This show is for single people and those in helpless, failing relationships. So don't fret, there's always an entire world waiting for you to arrive. Subscribe, like, and share this video, and let us go ahead and begin, shall we? What wonderful country do we have next? That's right, the passionate country of Brazil. So we're going to check out the good men and women of Brazil, see if it's a perfect match for you to go visit and search for the right partner. Let's go ahead and begin, shall we? So, first of all, we will be going over the good men and women of Brazil. Let's go ahead and see what kind of qualities do they have. Ideally, in an ideal world, which is still possible these days, let's go ahead and see what kind of positive characteristics they have, shall we? All right, let's go ahead and start with the women of Brazil. What makes them so special for a potential partner? Vibrantly passionate and joyful. That's what I would expect. She radiates a captivating energy and warmth that turns ordinary moments into passionate memories, making life feel like a thrilling dance. Well, they do love to dance, I'll tell you that. Her fun-loving nature is irresistible, ensuring your world is colored with excitement, affection, and spontaneity. That's what life is all about. Sounds like the perfect woman, right? And that should be all day, every day. Well, realistically, every day when possible. All right, so what else do we have here? Sexually expressive and empowered. That's a huge plus. She embraces her sexuality with confidence and joy, viewing intimate connection as a vital, expressive, and celebrated part of a deep partnership. Well, finally some deep truth in this series, because without powerful sexuality and expressiveness in the sexual department, your relationship isn't worth anything. It's a facade. It's a fake. It's a phony relationship. Without sex, you're doomed. Let me just tell you that much. This creates a profoundly satisfying physical bond, free of shame, full of mutual exploration and desire. Well, isn't that exciting? All right. Loving the Brazilian women so far, let's go ahead and shift gears to the Brazilian men, shall we? Passionately engaging and fun. Well, it looks like they're both passionate, doesn't it? He pulls you into a whirlwind of joy, making every day feel like a celebration with his infectious energy and zest for life. That's what I was hoping for. Boredom is simply not in his vocabulary. Neither is it in mine. This vibrant spirit creates a relationship full of spontaneous adventure and laughter. Laughter is always good. Where you feel truly alive and desired. You see how easy it is, folks? You need a partner like this. Otherwise, it's not going to be a fun ride for the rest of your life. Or you simply just won't make it. You'll have a mediocre, failing relationship in no time. It's gotta be like this. I love it already. Sexually confident and attentive. He approaches intimacy with a celebratory, all-in passion, and a focus on mutual pleasure. That's very important. It can't be just all about you. It's gotta be about both of your guys' pleasure. It takes two to tango, or in this case, samba. That makes you feel worshipped and deeply satisfied. Sex is a joyful, connected, integral part of the relationship's language, not just a physical act. Wow. Need it say any more truth than that? I love it, because that's exactly what it is. So many people out there have such a pathetic understanding of the word sex. It's not just a physical act. Because if that's what you think, then you haven't experienced love yet. Let's go ahead and move on with the passionate, spicy Brazilians. I'm enjoying it so far. It's everything a relationship should be. All right, going back to the Brazilian women. Nurturing a warmly affectionate and nurturing. She creates a haven of emotional and physical warmth with a loving, generous spirit that makes you feel profoundly cared for and secure. Well, isn't that nice? I mean, she's going to be a great mother for your children. Her affection is constant and tangible, building a home defined by love, comfort, and unwavering support. Well, isn't that the backbone of the relationship? Support. You know, that's a word that has been just slandered and abused and watered down, hasn't it? Just like the word love in many places of the world. I'm glad that they hold love and unwavering support up at the highest pedestal, because that's all part of comfort and happiness, isn't it? Resiliently strong and protective. Wow, so we got some brave women. Beneath her joyous exterior lies a formidable strength and loyalty. She will fight fiercely for her loved ones with a courage that is both inspiring and reassuring. You gain an unshakable ally who protects your heart and your well-being with ferocious dedication. All right, I love these words. Fiercely, ferocious. I mean, isn't that what you men want out there in a woman? Not these little tiny shy attitudes. I'm scared. I'm afraid to say anything. Where's the boldness? Where's that woman? Where's that woman energy? Right? You have to be the femme fatale. You have to be a strong woman in this life. So, I love it. So that's all for the Brazilian women. Let's go ahead and go back to the Brazilian men, shall we? Charmingly persuasive and romantic, he wins you over with grand romantic gestures, poetic words, and an unwavering focus that makes you feel like the only person in the room. Well, isn't that special? That means no distractions, right? That's really nice. This intoxicating courtship creates a powerful storybook bond that is incredibly hard to resist. All right, socially magnetic and loyal. Well, it looks like they're both loyal, right? He surrounds you with a warm, lively circle of friends and family, embedding you in a culture of music, food, and collective joy, where you're instantly included. His loyalty to his tribe extends fiercely to you, offering a deep sense of belonging and protection. Well, we cut that word with the women too, protection. So it looks like they're both on the same track. Well, I really like it. I like it so far, right? And I think that does conclude the positive traits, the main ones at least, for the Brazilian men and women. So I hope you guys like it. But without further ado, it's time to shift gears into the bad men and women of Brazil. Yes, unfortunately or fortunately, because you have to know, all right, we've seen the good. It's time to see who not to run into and how many red flags do they really have. All right, so with that said, special disclaimer, in case you're new to the show, the following does not apply to all men and women. This should be obvious. This should be common sense. Unfortunately, I do have to take proper precaution. So don't get offended if you're Brazilian or if you know Brazilians, your friends or whatnot. All right, let's go ahead and proceed, shall we? This is just a general description of what you might run into with a Brazilian person or visiting Brazil. All right, so let's start with the women, the bad women here. Dramatically jealous and possessive. Her fiery passion can explode into intense, scene-creating jealousy over minor interactions. Wow, okay, that's definitely a red flag. Leading to accusations, tests, and attempts to control your social life. This drama is exhausting and abusive, transforming love into a volatile transaction of constant reassurance and manipulated guilt. That does not sound like a fun ride, does it? Jealousy can destroy what would have been an otherwise great relationship had you have given it the chance. You know, you got to cancel that feeling of jealousy out if you expect to succeed in a relationship. It can't go forward like that. Without trust in a relationship, there isn't anything that you can build upon. There's no foundation. All right, so the malandra, cunning user. She can be a masterful manipulator. All right, there's that word again, manipulation. Using charm and emotional appeals to gain financial support or material advantages. Expertly exploiting a foreigner's perceived wealth or naivety. Her interest is transactional, and once the practical benefits slow, so does her affection, leaving you used and financially depleted. All right, so, you know, kind of sort of universal, kind of sort of. You know, it depends. There's lots of transactional issues in relationships today. But, all right, let's go ahead and shift to the men, shall we? The chronic flirt and cheater and cheating risk. All right. That's when the passion gets out of control, I imagine. His natural charm and need for admiration can spiral into a compulsive flirtation with everyone. All right, so we got an out of control male here, creating constant insecurity. The line between friendly and unfaithful is perilously thin and often crossed. This behavior erodes trust daily, absolutely, as his hunger for external validation frequently trumps his commitment, leaving you in a state of anxious surveillance. Yeah, so that's not a good position to be in for a woman in that scenario. The guy is flirting. It can go both ways, but this is, of course, pointing out the males here. So yeah, I mean, you can't be flirting with anybody and everybody. That means you don't take your partner seriously. There can only be eyes for one person if you're in love. That's part of the proof that you are in love. All right, so friends, yeah, it's okay to have friends, but be careful with the opposite gender friends because you really don't need them if you're in love, and they should respect that you're in a serious relationship. All right, so don't add potential fuel to the fire if there's already a small tinder going on as it is. All right, so the next bad trait, jealous and possessive. All right, so that kind of matches the Brazilian women there. Potential for emotional abuse. His passion can distort into intense jealousy and controlling behavior, often disguised as protectiveness. Nah, that's not being protective. That's just lacking trust and not having faith in your partner or your relationship, leading to monitoring your social interactions and irrational accusations. That's the worst, because now you're being managed. You're not being loved. That's abuse. There's no other word for that. It's abusive behavior. This possessiveness is a form of emotional abuse, there we go, that isolates you, creates walking on eggshells tension, and stems from deep insecurity, not love. Precisely. It's not love. So it doesn't matter which country you come from. That is not part of the equation of love in any sense of the word. It's not being, no. There's nothing good to say about that. All right, let's go ahead and finish with the bad traits for Brazilian women here. Unresolved baggage and trust issues. She may carry significant trauma. All right, so here's some PTSD, or PTS, not necessarily a disability, but let's go ahead and keep going here. Or distrust from, disorder is what I meant. Past betrayals, projecting those issues onto you with constant testing, suspicion, and emotional volatility that no amount of loyalty can soothe. Yeah, this is a bad one because in a relationship, you're not supposed to be your partner's therapist. It's a really tough situation. I mean, you can help them. Obviously, you should. But it really puts on an extreme burden on your partner because you're trying to help them, but it seems like they can just never get over their past. And that's just a sign of weakness, mental and emotional weakness. They should want to improve on that. It can't carry on. You can't, because it takes so much energy out of your partner. It's exhausting, and then you feel at fault or inadequate to help them overcome those past traumas. It doesn't mean the relationship can't work. It just means it takes two, okay? You pay the price for the sins of her exes entering a relationship already on trial. Yeah, that's another thing. We've already talked about this before on a previous episode. Your past relationships, doesn't matter how they failed. You need a clean slate with a new partner who's next, okay? So to speak. The next person that you have set eyes on as a potential lifelong partner. You can't treat them like they're culpable of anything that you had with your ex-partners. They're not. Okay? So we have a new clean slate. You got to trust them. You got to take them at face value. You can't be playing these little mind games with them saying, okay, I'm ready for him to do this, because that's your fear speaking. That's not being a loving, trusting, because trust is taking the leap of faith, right? You got to give them a chance to prove themselves. You can't be 1 foot out the door and 1 foot in the door, ready to bolt and run away like a coward once you see something that looks like what you experienced in a previous relationship that failed. No, it could be completely different or misinterpreted. And a lot of people use that excuse as saying, no, it's going to be exactly because I've been through this before. I don't know. Is it exactly the same thing? But you can't panic. You can't just run away because you'll never be committed in a serious relationship ever again with that type of fear. You got to give them a chance. All right, so tasks with the impossible job of proving they're different. Yeah, you're different. That's what I'm talking about. Give them a chance. It's impossible to prove yourself if you're constantly walking on eggshells thinking, uh-oh, am I behaving like her ex or his ex? Am I doing that? It's what a nightmare. All right, so prefers foreign stability. She may seek a foreign partner primarily as an escape from local economic hardship or the perceived unreliability of local men, valuing security and predictability above genuine romantic connection. You become a solution to her problems, a stable good guy, rather than a chosen love. That's kind of sad, isn't it? You're not being chosen because she's genuinely interested in you. You're being chosen because you're going to be her next human resource. That's really sad because the guy's going to be betrayed there, right? Already, right off the bat. A false illusion of love. And it is kind of hard to detect, but you can generally tell if she's really in love with you or not. But if you become blinded by the game, if she's playing that game, well, then you unfortunately won't be able to see it. You know, it's up to you, to each their own. But yes, risking a partnership built on function, not fire. Yeah, there's no fire in that relationship. It's all trying to take advantage of some guy to get out of the country. So, unfortunately, that's going to be in many countries, by the way, not just Brazil. As big as the country is, it's a shame that there's any type of poverty going on. But unfortunately, even the biggest countries have great problems with poverty, as much as many small countries as well. But let's go ahead and shift gears back to the men. Avoidant of chato, the boring responsible. Okay, let's see what they mean here. He may prioritize endless festa, which is partying, and fun over mundane adult responsibilities, viewing stability as boring and avoiding difficult conversations or planning. This leaves you managing all practical life logistics alone while he remains the fun-seeking boy. All right, so immaturity. We've seen this before. Creating a frustrating parent-child dynamic. Yeah, you know, sometimes that's the case with immature men. It's okay to be a little bit immature in a fun, playful way, but when it comes to responsibilities, you have to step up to the plate. You know, now or eventually, have a plan, work on it, do something. Don't just sit there saying, I'm done for, I'm just going to party with what I have, and that's not confident, is it? You got to make something out of yourself one way or another and never give up, no matter how hard the economy gets, yada, yada. All right, so the last bad trait of possible Brazilian men that you might encounter, interested in foreign status. All right, so similar to what we went over with the Brazilian women. He may be specifically drawn to foreign women, not just for connection, but for perceived status, economic stability, or as a trophy. Seeing a relationship as a potential pathway to a different life. This can make you feel valued for your passport or paycheck. All right, it's kind of like sort of a gold digger situation, but hit in reverse, an Uno reverse card here. Rather than your character, with the connection fading if those external benefits don't materialize. All right, so we kind of, this is pretty common, unfortunately. All right, so those last two are pretty common. But for the most part, I do love what I saw about the good Brazilian men and women. So with that said, my final verdict is Brazil is an enormous country. You know, you're going to have to do your homework before visiting. You do your research, because what I presented here is only a piece of the pie. A small piece. But it's a good enough piece for you to know that there is fun and excitement and passion in Brazil. But like any other country, you have to do your necessary research. Talk to people, especially if you can find somebody from Brazil. But, well, you're always flipping the coin, aren't you? To see if you talk to a hybrid of a good and bad Brazilian or a bad Brazilian, right? I mean, but you're the one, you know, to put the label on or not. It's up to you. Use your own discernment. But for the most part, what I saw here, the negatives, yeah, it looks like the passion can get out of control for the men, but the same can apply for the women. Cheating is a huge problem when passion is out of control on either side, men or women. You got to get yourself under control. You got to, you can't just be sleeping with 31 flavors out there. You got to make up your mind. And a lot of people have fear of commitment in a lifelong relationship. They tend to fall out of love as much as they fell in love. They start thinking about the future. They start doubting the future relationship. They start thinking, uh-oh, I'm getting older. I'm going to die soon. Maybe I need to try 31 flavors. Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you where that road ends. After you try 31 flavors, meaning all types of men or women, whichever you are, you're going to regret it. You're going to say, I should have just stayed in the relationship that was so special to me. Why did I mess it up? Because it looks like one was never enough. It looks like you could never take someone seriously to the very end. And that, to me, is very sad. It doesn't mean choose anybody. It means choose the right person. Trust your instinct. Follow your heart. If you don't do that, then you'll end up not only with the wrong person, but a completely wasted life, a mediocre one, or worse, abusive, because you ignored all the red flags, because you thought time was running out. And if your current relationship does fail, it doesn't matter. You do have to start all over again, but it's never too late. That's my advice to anybody out there. So as far as Brazil, I have to say it sounds like an exciting country because there's so much more than what I could explain in this show. So with that said, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Also be sure to sign up for your free membership on my website. And best of luck on your quest for love. Much love, everybody.